All right, thank you very much. You're still here on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. If you're listening on radio, this is Joy 99.7 FM in Kumasi or elsewhere in the Ashanti region and beyond. This is Love 99.5 FM. And there are those of you who are listening to us in various parts of the country, almost every corner of the country, in over a dozen affiliate stations. And some of you also are joining us through the live streams online. This is myjoyonline.com and multi-TV world/streams. If you're watching us on TV in the United Kingdom or elsewhere in Europe, you are watching us on the ABN TV. Thank you very much. This is our continuing coverage of the Supreme Petition, and the verdict has been delivered. I am honored to have yet another, set of very respected, honorable gentlemen in the country. Dr. Abu Sakara Foster. He is the CPP's presidential candidate in the 2012 elections. We are privileged to have you, Doc.
Thank you very much.
And the Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante is here with us. He is the moderator of the presiding bishop. Right, the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana. Thank you very much for coming to our studios. And it takes my mind back to the elections itself. We had the opportunity of having you around here and discussing issues of peace. And I'll start with you, Dr. Abu Sakara. It's over now, isn't it?
Well, it's the beginning because we have, in our journey of our political life, overcome a challenge that we've never overcome before, at least not in this manner. And I think that it marks a new beginning for Ghana. We need, first of all, to thank God for continuing to bless our country. And we also want to congratulate our Supreme Court judges who have so valiantly upheld the third estate of our republic, the judiciary. And in the work that they have done, we need to congratulate also the two political parties for their tolerance, for their courage to come to this point and conduct themselves in a way that has inured to the growth of our democracy, its maturation, and also the opportunity for us as a people to show that we have crossed a threshold, and everyone who is looking at us from outside Ghana today will not see us in the same light as they saw us yesterday. Today we are a different Ghana, and I believe the investment that we have made, all of us together, in this Supreme Court case is going to pay big dividends.
Right.
It's going to pay dividends in investment because money likes stability and it likes assurance. It is going to make a big dividend for us in terms of jobs that will come out of that. And those are the things that mean something to the ordinary men and women.
Right.
Income, jobs on the jobs that will deliver income, income that will keep up with the cost of living, and ensure that at least each and every one of us is able to do the essential things for our children and also do the things that make our wives happy. So it is actually a very big thing. I don't think that we all realize what a big thing it has been for this country.
Right. You visited the president earlier and then went to Nana Akufo-Addo as well,
Yes.
or you went the other way around, Nana Akufo-Addo and then to the president,
Yes.
and then you sought to urge them to find ways to ensure that the verdict will be accepted. Are you pleased, and you certainly must be, that he swiftly called the president to congratulate him? And we have a statement coming from government saying that government is extremely delighted at the verdict also, and is urging people to celebrate in moderation, and that the president will address the country at 7 p.m.
Well, I am pleased, but beyond that, I want to draw our attention to something very fundamental. In every society, there are people at the fringes and there's the majority.
Right.
In this particular instance, all the institutions the religious bodies, the traditional rulers, the political parties, the security, have worked to reclaim that space in the center, which the people at the fringes would normally take over with their extremist measures. I think today is definitely a win for all of us in Ghana. And the fact that Nana Akufo-Addo and the president have both accepted this decision should not simply be taken for granted, because many were the naysayers who said this would have no impact, who said the calls for peace were useless. People will do as they will do anyway. But today, I think they have proven themselves true statesmen. And I believe that all our actions up till now have shown that this country can be much better than it is. Our people are much better than what we normally want to portray in the media. And it is time for us as a people to celebrate that, because the investments that have been made by those who came before us, our founding fathers, they had a dream of what this country should be.
Right.
They had a vision of what this country should be.
All right.
And it was supposed to be a shining example to the rest of Africa of what we can do when we manage our affairs well.
All right.
Today we've proven to the world that we can manage our affairs well.
Great.
And all of us are winners.
Now, Reverend Asante, you have been an integral part of the Peace Council processes and calling on people to be peaceful. And you, as the spiritual fathers, have stood in the gap. You stood in the gap and poured prayers for peace after the verdict. You are certain that what we are seeing now will continue?
I have no doubt in my mind that what we are seeing will continue. And I'm deeply grateful to God and also grateful to Ghanaians for showing that indeed they are people who are committed to peace. Let me also add my voice to what Dr. Abu Sakara has said and express sincere thanks to the judiciary. They have really stood up as an important wing of the government. You know, we prayed for them to be bold in their decision, and they have done what is expected of them. I'm also grateful to Nana Akufo-Addo and those who sent in the petition. They have shown that they are committed to the rule of law, that they believe in democracy. The fact that Nana would there and then concede and even call the president and also urge his supporters to remain calm is the very things that we have been crying for. The president, I'm sure, we should also congratulate him for the patience that he has exercised. But let's not forget the security agencies. They have been superb,
right?
You know, in terms of what they have done.
They are everywhere.
They are everywhere. People said all sorts of things about that they are scaring off people. But deterrent is very, very important, because you never know those on the fringes what they would do. The majority of Ghanaians are peaceful, but you then have few odd ones who might not be as peaceful as you would expect. And therefore, I am very, very grateful. Today, I'm grateful. But I hope that this will not just be the end of it, because
Right.
as he said, for me, this is the beginning. I have said that there must be a way forward after the verdict.
Right.
And the way forward after the verdict must involve all Ghanaians and the political parties. We should come together, begin to jaw and say to ourselves, what is it in our electoral system? What is it in our system that leads us into this kind of situation? And maybe find a proper solution so that we can enter into politics of consensus as opposed to politics of animosity.
Right. I understand that Dr. Abu Sakara will leave us shortly. So I'd like to take I'd like you to take couple of questions. First, what do you see its impact on the politics of the country moving forward?
Well, I think, first of all, this particular Supreme Court decision is a full stop to a series of elections which have been very closely contested, if the results are not telling us that we need to come up with a different mechanism of greater inclusiveness, then we should look even to those that we are copying the democracy from. Because even though they have essentially the same political system, they are able to reach across the political divide, institute mechanisms of consulting other political leaders, as we have in the Privy Council, and also even working for each other, as you have often seen in the US, where even ex-presidents will join initiatives of presidential candidates from opposite parties to conduct special missions in the interest of the nation and the world at large. I think we need to relegate to the rear the retrogressive thinking that a political party, when it wins, should rule to the exclusion of everybody else. That is not good governance. It is not even governance.
What people have been asking for
Yes.
is for the politicians to be specific about this kind of proposal. What are you asking for? Are you asking for all inclusiveness? What are you asking for?
Well,
specific.
all those labels generally don't spell out exactly what we're talking about. You have different levels of inclusiveness. You have constitutional mechanisms like proportional representation that will guarantee a certain level of inclusion from different political spectrums. You also have local government, the election of district chief executives, to ensure that in as much as possible there is impartiality or let's say non-partisan basis for getting the best people for a local government, which can actually operate, even though maybe the political colors that it represents are different from the one ruling the government.
Right.
That is not unusual, and we must not allow ourselves to be scared by the people who make us believe that that is something so unusual in this world. Thirdly, I think we have to look at the possibility of ensuring that in our electoral process, we have a mechanism of support to the political parties themselves to ensure that the people who are sentinels of the vote at every polling station are people who are capable, and that we don't change more than 50% of them in any election, so that the track record of continuity of experience moves over from one election to another. And I think that this is an investment that we can make in the subsequent electoral reforms that will follow, with all of us making sure that once we identify all those electoral reforms, they are implemented before the next election.
All right.
And we should not consider that the cost of paying those people on the public purse to watch the box is too much, because certainly if you count what is the cost from the beginning of January up till today in economic terms, which is much more than paying polling station agents. But even that one, we want to see it in a positive light. We want to see all those sacrifices people have made from January up till now in business, social, political, otherwise. All those are investments in our democracy, but we must also be prepared to make investments that are preemptive, not investments that are after the fact.
Now, my very final question to you will be, what you expect to be the posture of politicians, especially the victors in this matter? And let's be plain about it. Chachi Chikete said that this is victory for Ghana. I've heard several other comments, similar comments like that. It's victory for Ghana, but the real truth really is that yes, it's victory for Ghana, but there's a party that won this victory. How should the posture of their commentators be from this point?
I think first of all, let us get rid of one myth. We only have government of Ghana. We don't have government of NDC or any political party. It is an administration of the political party that won the election, but it is a government of Ghana. And therefore, in the process of governance, you govern for all of Ghanaians and you use all of the Ghanaian resources at your disposal. So I think that is one thing that we need to be very clear and in understanding. Now, what we expect to be the posture going on has actually been signaled by the president himself during his inaugural address. I think a lot of people didn't pay attention. For me, I paid attention because when you have any chief, he selects a symbol that will be a symbol of his tenure of office. And when a new president comes, in his speech, he usually signals, what will be the theme of his presidency.
All right.
And what I picked up from his inaugural address was that his presidency will be a presidency of partnership, not partisanship.
Right.
Now, today, from today on, we want to see the translation of that into actions that clearly reflect that it is a government of partnership and not partisanship.
Right.
That is the posture we expect to see.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abu Sakara. Michael Abu Sakara Foster, that's a full name. He is the presidential candidate of the CPP in the 2012 elections. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I return to Reverend Emmanuel Asante. You have been concerned about what should be happening as far as the conversation in the media should be. What is going to be your advice from this time on?
I would continue to say that the media should be circumspect in the way they deal with matters. For example, we do know that even though we know what the verdict is, the details are not yet known. And if you're going to be discussing the details, you need experts. And I'm glad that you have somebody like Uncle Sam here who will be able to explain some of these things to us. The unfortunate thing is that in some places you go and they've gone for people who know next to nothing about law. And these are the people who are explaining things. I'm very much concerned especially about the local language, stations where there is too much embarrassment that could create all sorts of problems. So from now on, it is important for them to be very, 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 very circumspect in the kinds of things that they say. These are critical moments. Losing is not an easy thing.
Right.
Even though we're all saying that is a win for Ghana, we must know that there are people who are hurting, and we should be sensitive in terms of the things that we say, because the little thing that you say can inflame passion and it can set all sorts of things going.
I return to Mr. Samokujeto, and then you get ready for my question on Nana Akufo-Addo's emphatic declaration that there will not be a review. On the line is Joseph Opoku Gakpo. He is at the NPP headquarters. I understand press conference has gone on again, and the party chairman has been speaking to the press. Joseph, what has he been saying?
As well as some of the executives of the party, including Vice Chair Fred Oware and also General Secretary Kujo Usofiye, came to the party headquarters a while ago, and they've been addressing the party supporters who are gathered here, who have been here all morning in connection with the issues that came up in court earlier today. And he's been telling the party supporters that they, as party leaders, they are disappointed in the ruling that came. And he explains that they are also grieving as far as the decision that the court took is concerned. But he's also been asking the party supporters to be calm, and he's explaining to them that Nana Akufo-Addo himself has spoken to the President John Dramani Mahama. He's called him, and he's been indicating that he, Nana Addo, is ready to accept the judgment that has been delivered. And they are asking him of all party supporters, even though according to him, they are insisting that they had a strong case. He's been likening it all to losing a girlfriend. And according to him, even though they know that it's a worrying situation, they are calling for calm on the part of all party supporters. Additionally, the General Secretary of the party, Kujo Usofiye, has also been saying that he thinks truth has finished in this country. I'm quoting him, I'm translating his comments literally from the Chi language, and he has noted that looking at the fact that one of the judges said elections in this country would not be the same again, looking at what they have seen over the duration that the case was said in court, he doesn't understand why the contrary ruling was given, that the MPP did not have a case. After they spoke to the party supporters, several of them have dispersed from the MPP headquarters and they are going to their home. Something.
Much. Joseph Gapo reporting from the NPP headquarters. Well, the party leaders are singing the same tune as the flag bearer in the 2012 election himself, and so they are urging, as it were, caution and that everybody should be measured about how they go about what they intend to do. Thank you very much. This is our continuing coverage of the Supreme Judgment, and this is your Joy News channel on Multi TV. That's where you're watching us, and you're listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM on radio. Now, Ms. Okujeto, I wanted to pick your thoughts on where the the first petitioner says that all must come together to solve the problems that, bedevil Ghana. And I didn't seem to get him to be sending this invitation only to the members of his party.
Oh, no. I think that invitation was not to his party. In fact, I do not believe it was to his party. It's been addressed to the other political parties, particularly the ruling political party. I think this is a signal that is being sent out. And people should understand this from this point of view and say that it's true they've gone to court. And people say, oh, they shouldn't have gone to court. And I say, you've got it wrong. They should have gone to court. It's always good that when there's an issue that's arisen, you are not sure of it, and you feel that you are aggrieved, there's only one forum you should go to, that is the court. So it's good that they have gone to the court. Now, a decision has been given. But the judgment, as you yourself can see, there are splits in the matter. Now, if some of the judges are of the opinion that indeed the petitioners were right in what they have done, who are those who are outside, who think they know more than those judges, who are now telling them that they shouldn't have gone? And this is why we should be careful the kind of language we use, particularly when we are preaching peace. People don't understand the concept of peace. They assume that because people are not fighting in the street, then there is peace. It's false. It's false. What's happening in people's hearts, that is what actually matters. And also, let's also not fool ourselves, because today is only the first day. The judgment has not even sunk in yet to most people. So one can expect problems to arise all around in the next few days and weeks. So this is why we should continue this dialogue to emphasize and say that the petitioners were right in going to court. The judges were right in taking a majority decision. But the fact that many of the judges have raised issues which we have still not seen, because we need to get the judgment itself and analyze it. Yes. But in any case, luckily for us, this whole process was broadcast. So irrespective of what the judges say, we also saw. We, the Ghanaians, we also saw much of the evidence that was tendered there, which shows that certain things did not go correctly. Right. And these are the things that I believe Nado is addressing, is to say that we need, as a nation, to look at that matter as a nation. Right. Not as a political party, but as a nation. Now, it also means that we've, again, through this whole dialogue process or the peace we've been talking about, winner take all, winner take all. And then people misconstrue that also to think that some of us are looking for jobs. Now, I can assure them that many of us are not looking for jobs. But when we are using the term winner takes all, it is much wider than that. For the simple reason that we have a constitution. This constitution, if you go through it quite clearly, you will see that so much power is concentrated on one person. So much power. He alone appoints it, he alone appoints that. And even those where they are saying that he should be in consultation with the Council of State, you will find out that he himself appoints the Council of State. And therefore it is his appointees. And you don't see the Council of State disagreeing with him. So you can see the danger in which we have all put ourselves inside. Then it is not only the president But you find out that the party supporters becomes the danger for himself, because they are the ones who are agitating that I want this job, I want job because I have helped you, and so on and so forth. I had the privilege of being around when Nkrumah was overthrown. And I can tell you that if you analyze why Nkrumah, who from the very beginning says Ghana is a Christian country, that no one is going to argue about that. This is his words. Now, all of a sudden, he started to deteriorate because he was being misled by sycophants who were goading him on. You are Osajifo, you do no wrong. Now, that's the danger every leader in our country suffers. And if we do not, as a people, sit down together to work out a mechanism of preventing this as much as we can, I can assure you, the progress of this nation will be deteriorate. People will suffer, the poor becomes poorer, and a handful of people will manipulate the system, become wealthier and rich without caring. And then one day, I'm sure most Ghanaians have heard about the Peasants' Revolt in Europe. Now, this is something that is a danger all around. No one can fool himself and think that it cannot happen.
All right. There are so many of you who are sending in messages and asking that I explain the verdict. There's nothing more to explain. I have just told you. The best I have been able to do to you is to tell you what the judge said. The presiding judge gave you what is the verdict. I'm going to play it back to you. And the summary of it is that the petition has been dismissed. This is what happened. Overvoting. The petitioners went under 7 different heads of irregularities, or 6 of them, of irregularities, malpractices, omissions, and violations, which they sought and urged upon the court after having led evidence and said that they have proven them, and that the court should hold that this all put together amounted to such violations in 10,000 plus polling stations, which should result in cancellation of results of 3,900,000 and something plus, almost 4 million votes. The judges have given the judgment. And they say, on the question of overvoting, which has 2 strands, the traditional overvoting, which you must have heard Afarijan talk about, which is where the votes cast exceed the registered number of persons for that particular polling station, and the leg 2 of the overvoting, which was explained by Dr. Baumia, to mean that where the votes cast exceed the number of ballot papers issued, the total number of ballot papers issued to that particular polling station. Put that together, we have the head, overvoting. So overvoting, 5 of the judges have dismissed that claim. Number 2, voting without biometric verification. 6 of the judges have dismissed that claim. Number 3, presiding officers not signing the pink sheet as required by Article 49 of the Constitution. That one, you have 5 of the judges dismissing the claim. You have duplicate serial numbers, duplicate polling station codes, and then ghost polling stations or unknown polling stations. These were all heads that were taken by the petitioners. On all these 3, the judges unanimously dismissed them. They agreed, all of them, no disagreement, no dissenting, and dismissed all of them. Let's go and hear the judgment as Justice Atuga announced. This is just a summary. He's directed all of us. You can go to the court registry and apply for the judgment. You can be giving it. It's a public document now. So let's hear what he had to say.
Well, the decision we've arrived at, upon a scrutiny of the petition, we found that the issues to be determined are set out at page 125 of the Council for Petitioners' written address, They are as follows. 1. Overvoting. 2. Voting without biometric verification. 3. Absence of the signature of a presiding officer. 4. Duplicate serial numbers. That is to say, occurrence of the same serial number on pin sheets for 2 different polling stations. 5. Duplicate polling station codes. That is to say, occurrence of different results of pin sheets for polling stations with the same polling station codes. And 6. Unknown polling stations. That is to say, results recorded for polling stations which are not part of the list of 26,002 polling stations provided by the second respondent for the election. We unanimously dismiss the claims relating to duplicate serial numbers, duplicate polling station codes, and unknown polling stations, as for short. Atuguba, Adeyira, Bafubani, Gwedegwe, and Akotobamfu JJLC dismissed the claim of overvoting. Atuguba, Adeyira, Bafubani, Gwedegwe, and Akotobamfu JJLC dismissed the claim relating to absence of signature of presiding officer. Answer. Atuguba, Adeyira, Doche, Bafubani, Gwedegwe, and Akoto Bamfu dismissed the claim relating to voting without biometric verification. Answer. Owusu and Eni Yabua JJSC grant all the 3 claims, that's to say overvoting, absence of presiding officer signature, and voting without biometric verification. And all the votes involved and order a rerun of the affected areas. Doche GLC grants the claim of overvoting, but has provided a roadmap in his judgment as to the figures of votes to be ascertained and cancelled, and a rerun of the areas affected. Doche GLC opposed the claim relating to absence of presiding officer signatures on the pink sheets, cancels the results concerned, and orders a rerun of the areas affected. Bafubani GLC grants the claim of voting without biometric verification, cancels the votes involved, and orders a rerun of the areas affected. In the circumstances, the overall effect is that the first respondent was validly elected and the petition is therefore dismissed. Our various judgments, for the sake of convenience, are handed over to the registrar of this court. We highly commend the services of PKG, the referee appointed to undertake the count of the pin sheets, and also the counsel on all sides of this case. This is our judgment.
My Lord, we are very grateful.
My Lord, we are grateful for the result.
I'm most grateful, my Lord.
Thankful to your lordships.
All right, and that's we took you back to the Chief Justice's chamber, the Supreme Court. There's something I found a bit curious. Lead counsel for the petitioners, Philip Addison,
Yes.
I heard him also say, "My Lord, we are grateful." I was expecting that very in occasions like this, he would say, "As the court pleases."
No, I mean, these are terms of art.
All right.
Yes, we normally, even if we disagree, we are still grateful. Yes, it is just part of the etiquette of the of the profession, as a respect to the court, which we are always expected to undertake.
All right. Someone is asking whether it is still contemptuous to make contrasting comments on the judgment. Well, the judgment is not available yet. What do you say about that?
Oh no, you can discuss a judgment. Oh yes, everybody's entitled to judgment. So long as you don't go abusing judges, you're entitled to discuss judgment. You can even disagree with them on the matter.
It is the scurrilous abuse or scandalization of the court.
That's what we are talking about.
Right.
Yes.
You don't do that.
Yes.
You can do your criticism.
Oh yes.
That's it.
Analyze it and talk about it.
Okay. Now, I was saying that the question I wanted to ask for you is about the Nana Addo's emphatic declaration that there will not be a review. Rev, what do you say about that?
Well, maybe Nana Addo wants to put a full closure to the whole matter and get on to business. Remember that he has already said that, we need to get together and think through issues. See, if you look at the political reality of our country today, we are not talking about monopoly, but we are, as a matter of fact, what is real is duopoly. We have two strong parties that are equal. The difference is not that much. As a matter of fact, the difference is not that much. And therefore, if we operate on the basis of monopoly, we're always going to have the problems that we have. Look, the situation that we got ourselves into will not occur in contemporary South Africa, where ANC is very strong. The margin is such that you wouldn't even ever think of going to court and expecting that a vote will be turned for the minority party.
South Africa, I mean, literally speaking, is a one-party state.
Yes, because one party is very strong. Yeah. In our situation, it's just a little margin of votes. And therefore, so long as we continue to maintain that, we continue to have this duopoly, and yet we behave as if it's a monopoly, we will be bound to have the problems that we have. And that's the reason why we need to come together to talk and to try to find out what we need to do, systems that will be put into place that will allow space within the monopoly for the other parties also to be there. What is the point in somebody marshalling, almost 50% of the votes, losing, and then nothing? The person, they are not given any role to play. They have to sit and wait until 4 years when they have to come back and compete. So long as we continue to maintain this, we're going to have problems.
All right. Thank you very much. And I must now announce that we have also been joined, we are very privileged indeed, being joined by Mr. Kwesi Jonah. He is a governance expert. Of course, you know that he's with IDEC as well. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'd like to pick your thoughts immediately about the verdict.
This is a verdict of the Supreme Court, and when the highest court in the country has spoken, ordinary mortals like me, very, very ordinary mortals like me, have absolutely no reason to question. But to tell you the truth, I think there's more in this verdict than the people see.
Right.
As far as the majority of the people are concerned, one has lost, one has won. No. Very important issues have been raised in this entire case, issues that require very profound reforms, not just electoral reform, but political reforms. And if you read even the verdict on the surface, on very crucial issues, it's 5-4-5-4. Meaning that even the honorable justices themselves were not so decided, So we should go beyond the verdict. We should go beyond this case and pursue those electoral and political reforms that we need to do before we can lift our country up to the next level of our democracy. And I think that even though the very ordinary people of this country will be seeing a winner and a loser, we should go beyond this.
Right. As a governance person, IDEC also has been at the forefront of seeing to it that our governance systems are up to scratch and up to speed with international standards. Now, I am thinking that you will be interested in seeing what the judges have had to say about the questioning of, for example, the presiding officers not signing, especially those who did not dismiss, that particular claim, the aspect of voting without biometric verification. You'd be interested in seeing what exactly their arguments are for it.
Yeah, but that information is not available to us now. So it is dangerous to comment on something that you have not seen before the information becomes available to us. I am sure that all of us, when we have seen what exactly went into the judgment, then you will have things to say.
But you're setting in your mind that, like one of the judges said, and Nana Akufo-Addo echoed a while ago, that elections in this country will not be the same again.
Well, believe you me, even without this verdict, as a nation, after 20 years of democratic elections, it would have been necessary for us. Don't forget that we operated the constitution for just 20 years, and we started looking at it. So after we have voted for 20 years, it's absolutely necessary, even without this case. What this court case has done, it has made the case for reform even more urgent.
Some of the view that we had taken so much for granted, and it is this case that is bringing that awakening that you can't continue to take things for granted in the conduct of elections.
I would not say that we have taken too many things for granted, but first of all, Africa as a continent didn't have a very good reputation for good governance in the past.
Right.
It is only since the beginning of the 1990s that all of us are making some attempt to institute democratic governance. Now, when it so happens, then the few countries that are able to invest a lot of effort shine. And Ghana is shining at the moment. If you read all the governance indices, you'll be very surprised how your country, Ghana, is placed. The average Ghanaian will not believe. Take the Mo Ibrahim Index of Good Governance. Ghana is one of the top 10 best governed countries in Africa.
Right.
Take the Global Peace Index. Ghana is among just about the 5 top most peaceful countries in the continent. Now, when you get a schoolboy, you're always first, second, you become solid. You become solid-headed. And then you refuse unless your parents take a critical look at your marks. That even though you are second, your marks is weak. So this is what has happened to Ghana. Because you are being praised all over the world, you are doing well, you are doing that, you are doing that. We have not gone into those critical areas that we need to examine before we can move forward.
Earlier, you are really talking about the international dimension. So obviously this is a feather in the cap of this country in its democratic journey. Earlier, whilst the petition was going on, the president has said that he thinks that this petition will further deepen Ghana's democracy. So you think that in the international ratings, we'll go up a notch higher?
I'm not so sure about it. Let me tell you the reason why I don't think it will make any impact on our rating internationally. The indicators for measuring good governance are there already. A rule of law, this, that they're already set. They're not going to create a new one to accommodate brand new performance.
But the political stability is central.
Yes, sure. For development, for your democracy, political stability is key.
Now, Rev, you have stood in the gap. You have just said a while ago also that the police, you commended them and asked them to continue to remain at their post. Are you, men of God, going to continue to remain in your post rather than rushing into celebration? The statement by the government is calling on the church leaders to ask its members to continue in prayers Saturday and Sunday, and then urging Muslims also to do the same on Friday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Definitely. I mean, ministers, we stand in the gap. That is the meaning of a pastor, one who stands in the gap. And we will continue to stand in the gap. I'm even thinking that, at some point, religious leaders will come together and organize what we call reconciliation service, which will bring all of us together, to demonstrate our oneness and our commitment to push our country forward. So I don't think that we should simply get into the bandwagon of simply thinking that the deal is done. There is something that, Uncle Sam said which we must also take note. This is early yet. This is the first day. I mean, it hasn't sunk in yet. I mean, in the courts, if you looked at the faces of a lot of people sitting there, I wasn't too sure whether they had even understood what had happened. Yeah. So it is now that people are going to do proper analysis, and all sorts of interpretations are going to go on there. They are not going to get experts to interpret things to them. People are going to give misinterpretations, and that could lead to all sorts of things. So we should not think that the deal is done yet. We should continue to drum peace, even though people are not too happy when we
do
talk.
I get the impression that this is something in the works, the religious, leaders bringing us together under a reconciliation, national reconciliation sort of service?
But the Peace Council is thinking of getting the religious bodies, do a thing like that. We have already written a project on that, and we would, together with our partners, try to facilitate that, because we think the greater percentage of Ghanaians are religious, and therefore if the religious groups would take the lead in this matter, rather than the government bringing it, it will carry, weight to say that this is what the religious bodies are saying.
Is that going to be soon?
It should be soon. It is a must that we must do this as early as possible.
Right.
Yes.
Now I'll ask this question, and then we'll take a break and return to continue. Mr. Samukujeto, would you say that discussion in detail of the judgment, for example, that it should be expected of journalists, media houses that if you do not have a copy and have not had the benefit of reading through it thoroughly, you should not be seen engaging in the business of discussing it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the problem always is people talk about things which they are not conversant with. And if you don't read the judgment, how do you know? I mean, I have 50 years at the bar. So I listened to them. And to me, it wasn't clear. So I don't see who else can think that he can understand it better than I do. And that's the more reason why I will caution and say, don't do it. Yeah. But even if you want to discuss it, wait until you get the copy of the judgment. But even if when you get the copy of the judgment, ensure that those you are asking to discuss it know what they are discussing. Exactly. Because this is the trouble, because we have too many pocket lawyers in the country. Right. Who will go and pontificate on legal issues and matter of which they know next to nothing. And then they mislead the people, they provoke people to do things which they ought not to do. Right. So my caution would be that, yes, the religious leaders should pursue peace. And that one, I will go further to say that the Christian Bible is very clear on the matter. Jesus says that ye may be one. And people don't seem to pay much attention to that, because this one is not talking about denomination. He's talking about you people of the faith work together. And when you work together, there is power. There is power in that unity comes from above. That works through you. But when you are divided, you are fragmented like that, that power is gone. It's not there. It does not effect. So we are at the crossroads. For us even to impress upon the president and the presidency to appreciate the issue that we are raising here now, to say that there is the need for us to work together as a nation, as a people, to talk about all-inclusiveness, to find out that there are talents in this country. Sometimes this is the one that baffles me. I said, I am a Ghanaian who has had the privilege of traveling more than most Ghanaians. And that I travel around the globe, and I meet Ghanaians everywhere. And the amazing thing is to see the level of talent that this nation has produced. And we are not using the talents.
I see.
Because we put political labels upon them.
Oh, that's... On that note, we'll take a quick break here. This has been our continuing coverage of the election petition judgments. Call it the Supreme Judgment. And you've been watching us on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. And in the UK and elsewhere in Europe, you've been watching on the ABN TV and on Joy 99.7 FM and over a dozen affiliate stations across the country, on myjoyonline.com and multitvworld/streams. We'll be right back.
29th of March 2013, following a tense but relatively peaceful election, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, of Kenya declared Uhuru Kenyatta president-elect. He garnered 50.07% of the vote, barely passing the threshold for a first-round victory.
Raila Odinga, 5,340,546. Uhuru Kenyatta, 6,173,433.
Coalition.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, certifies that the candidate who has been duly elected the President of the Republic of Kenya under the provisions of Article 138 of the Constitution in the presidential elections held on 4th March 2013 is Uhuru Kenyatta.
The IEBC.
His closest opponent, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, challenged his victory in court. But despite allegations of irregularities and technical failures, the Supreme Court upheld the election. Although Odinga accepted the ruling, his party and several civil society organizations questioned the election's shortcomings and its impact on democracy. Kenyatta and running mate William Ruto were sworn in as president and vice president on 9th April. This was not the first legal presidential dispute in Kenya. A contested result at the onset of multi-party politics in 1992 and again in 1997 ended up in the High Court. At least 7 petitions were filed, and all were dismissed on technicality.
You're welcome back. This is your election headquarters, Joy 99.7 FM, and this is your Joy News channel on Multi TV. Thanks for keeping your dials right here. And in the studio, I have been speaking to Mr. Kwesi Jonah. He's a governance expert. He's with the IDEC. He's also a lecturer. He's still lecturer at the University of Ghana, Political Science Department, and also the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, the Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, and Sam Okujeto, a very senior lawyer in this country. Now, I want us to go to Tokyo. The Ghanaians everywhere on this planet, like Mr. Okujeto said earlier, we want to find out the mood in Tokyo. And Ken Edu is a Ghanaian who lives there. Ken, good. What's the time where you are?
It's over here 12:30 at night.
Right. So you followed the judgments, right?
Yeah.
And that's been the situation for Ghanaians generally. It applies. People have stayed indoors to watch their television or watch through the internet to know what was going on, right?
Yeah.
I see.
I had a lot of calls from brothers. They they were waiting for the verdict to come out, and it took them some time before they got the final verdict. Mm-hmm. So and there was so much worry about the Ghana. People were panic what is going on there. So long life we got the final verdict. We are all happy for that.
I see. Tell me, first of all, what is this that informed the panic you spoke about?
Yes, there were so many information on radio stations, television. They were talking about there will be a civil war in Ghana. That's what the reason why people were panicked. So much worried about that.
Are you talking about radio stations you listened in locally in Ghana or abroad?
Yep. Yeah, the local radios that we get them from the internet.
I see. So after having sat through listen to the judgment, tell me what is the experience like? What's the atmosphere among Ghanaians where you are?
Over here, it's too late. After the judgment came out, I had a little call from brothers, but they're all happy that everything went through, and there were so many celebrations and somewhere.
I see.
That's
now,
it.
Now tell me, what's your prayer from this moment forth?
Oh, my prayers is that we are all Ghanaians, though. We have no country apart from Ghana. So we are all praying that, we have to join together as a nation. We move forward. No matter what MPP, NDC, or we are seeing people. So, as you heard Nanado said that, we have to move forward.
All right.
As a nation. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Ken Edu in Tokyo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome, brother.
Thank you very much indeed. Ken speaking to us from Tokyo on Skype, and he says that the Ghanaians there also were in the same situation, even though they are far removed from the place of the action. We had been told about people who were leaving the country so that they could hide somewhere in the hope that, in the fear that if something happened, they would be out of the jurisdiction. Mr. Jonah, what do you think about the way even Ghanaians outside the country have had to sit on tenterhooks for the period?
Because if we're a true patriot, you have left friends and relatives behind.
That's right.
And it doesn't matter where you are, New York, Tokyo, London, or Brisbane. If there is trouble in Ghana, you yourself may be safe, but your friends and relatives are not.
Right.
And that is the reason why all of them were so very concerned about what was going to happen here.
And we don't care. We don't want to know which if he has any affiliations for any of the parties. He says and I heard him at that time when he said it doesn't matter whether you are NDC or NPP, we are all one. Okay. And I saw all of you three nodding in what do you call it, in agreement with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do we achieve that locally? He's just told us about one of those measures they intend to take. The process of the reconciliation service could be one of those opportunities or platforms to unify the divide. Is it Godwin, the lawyer who was on earlier, who said that, really it was, I think it was Dr. Abu Sakara who spoke about the divide, and that he thinks that this judgment says full stop to that kind of polarization. What steps should we be looking at in bringing all of us together under one umbrella?
There are both long-term, medium-term, as well as short-term measures that we can take. In the long term, I think the educational curriculum should be looked at. It should be one that instills patriotism, not partyism. It should be one that puts the love of the fatherland above all other considerations. So it doesn't matter whether you are CPP, NDC, we are all Ghanaians.
You won't find any trace of partisanship in any of the curriculum.
Just like our brother from Tokyo was talking about. So in the past, incidentally, they had these course called civics, which is to teach people patriot love of fatherland, good citizen, bad citizen. All that is gone from the curriculum.
But I said, with respect to the educational, curricula, as you said, I was saying you won't find any trace of anything party in it.
No.
What you're saying is that there's an absence of what was civic education.
Yes.
Yeah. I see. I left school not too long ago. You could have studied it. Yeah, but there was. But I don't think that it's completely missing.
There are some countries in the West that have also this course called patriotism in basic schools.
That's right.
And they teach the people how to love the fatherland. It doesn't matter whether you are Democrat or Republican or whatever you are. You put the love of the nation.
We have social studies, and I think that caters for that particular.
I am also
saying, go to United States of America when they're singing their national anthem. Everybody puts their hand
under his hat.
How many people can even sing our national anthem?
Oh, but
in this country,
yes. Americans are very proud of their country,
yes,
and their country will die for them in the first place.
Yes.
But there are also Americans who are ignorant about their own national
anthem. I mean, look. They are ignorant about their environment, about their neighbors. I lived in Canada for many years, and you can, summertime when Toronto was very, very hot, you could get, Americans coming in there to ski, thinking that, people were living in igloos and all that. But when it comes to America itself, You know, so what he's saying, we need a little bit of patriotism, you know, rather than these days what we're trying to do is to encourage, you know, little, you know, groups of partisan students in our campuses and all that. But the idea that we should stand for Ghana, we should stand for Ghana, we should see ourselves as Ghanaians first before NDC, NPP, CPP, or whatever. These are the sort of things that we are talking about.
Mr. Kujetu, there are those who say that Ghana is true of the statement that a country that does not honor its hero is not worth dying for. And people can see that it permeates in our society. So what is there to die for Ghana? Why?
It is true, but the question, of course, we say the country which does not. Now, is the country an institution? The country is not an institution. The country is purely a geographical area. Or as part of my stunning joke, I said, by geographical accident, I was born in this place. I could have been born anywhere else. And so, but by that accident, I've been born in Ghana, and therefore this is my country. So I accept it. Now, it is the responsibility of us as citizens to work together to honor our heroes, to show appreciation. This is why I was indicating earlier on to say that you have all these talented people. Some are in the National Space Institute in NASA, who are working there, fixing the Sputniks to go to space. And we are sitting down here and we are just joking that you go to the UN and you see people. I can tell you there are places around Toronto. If you see the number of expert doctors, physicians, surgeons, you'll be shocked.
Yes.
You can't believe it. I say everywhere I go, I meet with them and I see it. And then we are short of doctors here. And I said that many of them would like to come back, either to stay permanently or even to come and work for a short while and then go back. But our system, we have said it and said, oh, but he's not in my part in the ruling party, so don't give him. Now, who is the loser? It's not him. It's the nation. So I think this is the problem that we need to address. And you see, when we are talking about civic, then I also realize that very few even know the history of the country. That even contemporary history for the past 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, what had happened. The average person has no idea. But it's an understanding of those issues that highlights for you now to see what the problems are now, and then how we can solve it. But don't forget that the young people form more than 60% of the population.
Right.
And so that's where the danger is. And so when you take about the voting age, you are asking the largest portion of the voters who are going to cast their vote, who have no idea what's going on.
I see.
And that's where the danger is. So we need to address this as an important matter. You know.
Mr. Jonah, all of you agree on the question of the need for a lot more teaching in civics and also patriotism, so that people can be more patriotic to the country. Are you saying that that job is a job that ought to be done by the state, or that it is something that individuals should do themselves? He made reference to doctors, brain drain. In 2003 or 2004, I did a documentary on the brain drain in respect of doctors, and I found that Ghanaian doctors in New York alone outnumber the total of the doctors we had in our country, and that was very sad. Is it not a question of individualism?
Well, there is individualism, but you see, the point all of us are making is that first, make the love of country a priority. There will definitely be market forces in the consideration as to whether you work in Ghana as a doctor or you work in the New York area as a medical doctor. There will definitely be some market considerations. But as he was saying, there are Ghanaians even now who are prepared to come for 2-3 years and go back. But we have so labeled them politically that they don't feel like coming. This NDC man, what is he coming to do here? Or this MPP man, what is he coming to do here? That is the point he's making.
The president is expected to address the country shortly.
7 p.m.
Yes. I want to find out what are your expectations. What should be the focus of his message? I'll start with you, Reverend Asante.
I expect him to give olive branch, I expect him to say that let's put everything behind us. Let's open a new page of politics of inclusion.
Mr. Kujeto.
Yes, I think I will just support what my Osofo has said, is to say that he, as president, has been saying this matter and said that there must be an inclusive. He's been saying it. It is now his responsibility to translate it into reality and not just words. In fact, it is more important now than ever, that he should actually make a positive move. Because you see, I have looked at it this way and said, if you are not reaching out to your political opponent, then you don't know what is going on in his head. And there's a standing joke I have. I say, if I am a ruler of the country, I will neutralize my political opponent. Somebody say, how will you do it? I say, because I will never do anything without consulting him. I said, I will never take any.
You may get bad advice.
No, I'm not bound to take his advice. You don't. That's the picture. People misunderstand it. It means that at least I will know what is going on in his head. And for all you know, he may have a very good advice. And I will take it and use it. And he can't come back and criticize me because I'll say, but you and I have discussed it.
All right. We should banish that attitude in the country where someone started a project, another comes to continue, and people say you didn't have any idea. You came to continue what we had. That's right. What do you say? What are your expectations? What should he be talking about?
My expectation is a very simple one. When he appears on television this evening, 7 p.m., he should remember that he's two persons in one. That's right. He is the first respondent. A judgment has been given. He must be very conciliatory towards the other person who has just lost this case. But also, at the same time, he's the president of this nation. And as the father of this nation, he should be able to chart the way forward. Right. This has been a very, very unique, this is the first time we have gone through this case. How do we move forward from here? And I expect him to make first a conciliatory statement to Nana Addo, the person, the first petitioner, that let's put this behind us. But I expect him as a president also to show the way forward from here. That as a nation, look, we have found that there are certain things that didn't go well, very well. We shall work together to rectify them.
Definitely the victor, so to speak. And sometimes I have a little difficulty because by my training legally, I know the position of the respondents in this. So it's really not the victor. Right. But we're taking they ought to celebrate, and they are celebrating. I'll take a quick break and return and briefly take their comments on what advice they have to the entire nation as to how the celebrations should go from this moment until maybe close of the week or Monday or the rest of the weeks that are ahead of us. These are men with wisdom, and we will tap into their wisdom. We'll be right back. This is your election headquarters. You are listening to us on Radio Joy 99.7 FM and over a dozen affiliate stations across the country. You're watching us on your Joy News channel. This is Multi TV. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. I was caught unawares. Well, sometimes it happens. And thank you very much for keeping your dials here. This is your election headquarters, and we are all over the place in the country and beyond the country. And Ghanaians who are watching and listening to us in abroad, we want to also hear what you're thinking, what is going on in your mind. Of course, you may be excited about the fact that this phase is also, going off. Now, all right, I've got a gentleman in Amsterdam we're going to speak to right away to tell us what they are also experiencing at this moment and their feelings right away. But before we do that, I want to return to my guest, and I would like to start with you, Mr. Jonah, on this point. What will be your advice to all the parties, to all Ghanaians, about how the celebrations should go before groups like IDEC, the Peace Council, and elder statesmen in the country kept urging everybody to, in some points, the call was that don't celebrate. And then at other instances, it was do it measuredly.
I think from do it measuredly, we should now move to don't provoke. it is important that we don't provoke the other side. Whether we are celebrating or not celebrating, provocation is what could lead us into trouble. And so immediately, everybody should make sure that whether you are celebrating whatever it is that you are doing, you do not provoke the other person into taking certain actions that could result in violence. So that is number one. Number two, the judgment has now been given. The entire nation is aware of it. The next step forward is to think of a practical reform agenda. A reform agenda that will not only cover the electoral politics of this country, but politics in general. I earlier heard people talking about the winner-takes-all system. This is very dangerous. I earlier heard Uncle Sammy talking about how people are labeling everybody politically. We must start a political reform agenda that will enable us to solve all these problems.
Specifically, the labeling aspect. Practically, how do we get rid of it? And I must confess that I get very worried about it, that I hear people in this country who have a high level of respect among the people. They make one statement and they get vilified. They get called all sorts of names.
Yeah. My brother, if an ordinary supporter of a party does this, I will not be worried.
Right.
But if somebody in authority knows that Uncle Sammy is the only one who can do this job for us, but we suspect he belongs to that other party, I get worried. I get worried. And so I expect people in authority not to behave like very, very ordinary members of the party who keep labeling people. I expect people in authority to know that every Ghanaian is a Ghanaian. And if the skills and the knowledge we are looking for can only come from this guy, it doesn't matter which party he belongs to. We expect him as a patriot to deliver.
Right.
You know, this is what people's businesses collapse because of this party labeling.
And that even if he belongs to a party, that shouldn't make him...
he will deliver. He's coming to deliver his services to his nation as an expert. Why should you just exclude him because he belongs to a party other than the one that you belong to?
Thank you very much. Mr. Kujeto, how should the celebration be done? People are celebrating and they must celebrate.
Yeah, well, nobody can deny anyone the right to celebrate. But that has been said, it's the provocation that it entails. People say, oh, you shouldn't have gone to court in the first place. We told you that we won hands down. Those are the things that provoke people because it means they are stupid to have gone to the court.
If I may say, on that score, you have already, quote unquote, rebuked the vice president for saying
exactly, he shouldn't have. He should not. For his position, that should be the last person should utter a word like that. So I beg of him, he should never repeat that thing again at any other time. I'm an elder citizen, so I can talk to him. So let him understand that he should not, under any circumstance. So he's saying that all the other judges who made the ruling, they were all idiots. Is that what he's trying to say? You shouldn't say things like that. So that's the first point for us to
no provocation.
No provocation. We should not build a peace process.
That's the first point. Next
go
time.
Enjoy yourself.
That's the first point. What's the next level?
Next one is again this realization, saying that there is only one corporate Ghana. Each citizen is a shareholder. And we know that as a shareholder, you are entitled to dividend. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir.
That means everybody has rights. And so there is no reason why we should ignore someone and push him aside merely because you put a party label upon him. And then in the end, what are we doing? We are putting square pegs in what? In round hole, which does not fit into it. And then we destroy the nation in the process. And then you have all these problems which are rising now. You have, is it grader, is that what you call it? Yeah. You have grader. Jida, sorry. I'm sorry, excuse me. You have Jida, you have judgment that tribunal, and issues are being raised, and you can't understand. The people who go, they cannot even defend it. Corporations were sold, nobody paid, and nobody cared whether they paid for it or not. And yet there is so much abject poverty.
And the person who didn't pay has sold it for money.
Has sold it for money.
Yes.
And yet there is so much abject poverty around us. And those who are so poor, which I see daily in my life and my work. And I ask myself, why should we as a nation allow this to happen? So if we want to build peace and unity, this is what we should be now thinking about together. Not as a party, but together. I think this is really the charge that I'm putting before the presidency. This is the charge that I'm putting before the political parties, that it is time we all begin to do what? meet together, work together, forge ideas together so that we can help to build this nation. I can tell you that this nation's production and GDP should be more than twice or three times what it should be. If only we will utilize all the resources we have, particularly in terms of talent in the country.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much. Very wise words indeed. And I'll take the very final one from the man of God. And I'm a believer of this spiritual, orientation that everything that you see now here, whatever is happening, is a manifestation of what already has taken place in the spiritual realm. They have been praying for this country, for peace, and God certainly has heard them and heard all of us, and the peace will continue to stay with us. But before I speak to him, I'm joined on Skype from the Netherlands. I've got a gentleman who is joining us. He's a Ghanaian and who is in that country, and he will share with us, just like our friend Kenneth do in Tokyo, had to share with us. Okay, this is supposed to be George Owusu. Hi, George.
Hi. Hello.
How you doing?
Pleasure. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Great. You are in Amsterdam, right?
Yes.
Great. You watched the verdict?
Yes, I did.
Alone or with your family and friends?
Yeah, we were a group because it was yesterday through one of your workers by name Ephria, and through one of our colleague called Mr. Adi, that helped me to get you in contact. So we were told by a group of people so that by the verdict, after the verdict, we can talk to you guys. But unfortunately, we were waiting.
All right.
So that's okay.
You were waiting in the same way you were waiting for the verdict, and it wasn't coming in time.
Yeah, it wasn't, because we hear the news that it will be around 2 o'clock, which is in Netherlands, which is 4 o'clock.
Right.
So we say, okay, let's go and find something to quench our thirst and come back. So we were, even at the outside, our people started to call, oh, Bush, have you got the news that they have declared Mama as a president? Then I said, oh, my friend, it wasn't true. So I immediately called the place that we were gathered, the saloon. They said, oh, yeah, it is true.
All right.
So to be honest...
Now tell me, why was it so important for you guys out there? You are not here in Ghana.
That is the best and the most very, very fine question. Let me tell you one thing. If you are in Europe, you have every right. Me, for instance, within the EU country, the 27 EU country, I've been traveled to 24 countries. And most of the time, I used to go to their museum about the Jewish people. You see, when Adolf Hitler came into power, he started the foreigners, especially the Jews. So by learning this, I know that though I am in Holland as a, let's say, the ambassador, so one day I will go back to a retirement. And where should I go? Back to Ghana. So there is no place like home.
Tell me, well, generally, so what is your feeling and your friends? How do you feel about the fact that we have come to the end of this road, so to speak?
To be honest with you, those who we gather over there, I can tell you maybe we were almost about 95% MPP sympathizers. So if something like that, we were expecting something. So during that, there was a rumor, you hear this and hear that, and I say, let us wait for the verdict. So as soon as this one happened, it wasn't easy. Even me, as I'm talking to you, hadn't been not even pledged my let's say, my sincerity to Efua and Mr. Ebi, I would never ever talk to you guys on the phone because
You're not happy.
I'm not happy at all.
Right. Nanado Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the flag bearer of the NPP in the 2012 elections, who is the first petitioner in this matter, has called John Mahama. He's congratulated him on phone. He has spoken to the whole nation and says that though he's disappointed in the decision, he's accepted it and he wants all members of the NPP to accept it and move on with their lives, seek to support the government to move on with its developmental projects. He's also said that there's not going to be a review. He's not going to attempt the review option. So how do you feel about that too?
Oh, by Nana, if Nana is saying that he's not going to apply for any review or whatever, that one, I do supported the idea, because by the way the things went, we all see that, my friend, the first round is not okay. So it will be that even this one, I will call it, if he go for the review, it's going to be the third round. Because the first round was this man, what was the name? Afarijan. And the second round was Justice Atukuba. So the third round, who ends? So that one I do support.
All right. Okay, but in the
let me finish. By Nana telling all the supporters to, just to pull our strength to support the government. So my question is the government really needed the support of Ghanaians in diaspora, or let's say the Ghanaians in Ghana? Sometimes I can tell you no, because we are here. Whenever even you go to Ghanaian embassies within Europe, the way our own Ghanaians, the way they will maltreat you, you ask yourself, am I in a stranger's or am I in a strange embassy? No. Okay, we are here.
All right.
Nothing we can do.
Okay.
They say the justice is always lies in the bosom of the judges.
That is correct.
There is nothing we can do.
All right. It's been interesting. It's been fascinating speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are really welcome.
All right. Thank you very much. And that is George Owusu. He's in Amsterdam, and he has been speaking to us. And of course, he is a sympathizer of the New Patriotic Party. He's not happy about it, but now he says he's heard that Nana Akufo-Addo says, well, they should throw their weight behind the government. He takes it, but he has questions. And I understand his complaint. It's a common complaint that Ghanaians in the diaspora don't receive the best of reception when they go to the missions over there. Now, Rev, I'm now taking your advice how the celebrations should be conducted.
I think I also agree with the first two speakers who said that we should not provoke. I'll say that let us celebrate with sensitivity, a feeling that, you know, our brothers on the other side may not be happy, rightly so. And therefore, let us do so with sensitivity. The second thing that I would like to say is this, that this is an opportune time for the government to really open up channels for dialogue. Let's break the ice. The two parties have not been on talking terms. This is the opportune time for us to sit together as Ghanaians and push our nation forward. So I'll be expecting, you know, the president and all the others, whatever they say, the statements that they make should be so conciliatory. Attempt to bring on board all the others in the name of Mother Ghana so that we can push our country forward.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. And you have heard them. If you depart from the advice, you are not doing yourself any good. Mr. Kwesi Jonah says that you should be measured in your celebration. Don't provoke. Mr. Samoku Jeto emphasizes and endorses that position. Don't provoke. And now the man of God tells us the comments and statements should be conciliatory in nature, and that you should celebrate with sensitivity. Gentlemen, we're extremely grateful that you came to the studios to share with us your thoughts and pieces of advice. I have been speaking to Mr. Kwesi Jonah, a governance expert, and with IDEC, also Mr. Sam Okujeto. He is a senior lawyer in this country, and Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante. He is the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana. Thank you very much indeed for your time. We take a quick break here. We'll be right back.